I'll stream that new T.I., man, that new T.I. shit, right one, that shit on fire. Tip, we want to see them old schools at the car show. ATL, let Tip know after y'all stream that new shit, that shit hot.
What happens when one diss track turns into 3 and suddenly an entire family steps into the booth at once? Are we looking at Nest-level loyalty or at the start of one of the most unexpected rap rivalries hip-hop has seen in years? And where exactly does Rick Ross fall in all of this after jumping into the mix over that viral 50 Cent shirt? Because this isn't just about music anymore. This feels strategic. 3 diss tracks back-to-back from the same household isn't something you see every day in hip-hop. It kicked off when King released his track, delivering a bold statement that instantly had timelines buzzing. Then T.I. answered with her own response, and before the noise could settle, Dominique slid through with Miss Jackson, keeping the pressure on and the conversation alive. What's unfolding looks less like random shots and more like a calculated lyrical rollout. A family moving as one, speaking through records instead of interviews. Online observers have been quick to point out how locked in they seem, saying it feels like whenever one grabs the mic, the entire unit backs them up. King reportedly pushed boundaries with his track, sparking debate about just how far he's willing to go creatively. Meanwhile, Dominique, respected for his pen, came through with sharp wordplay and steady confidence on Miss Jackson, making sure people were dissecting every bar. The cover art for Miss Jackson shows a burning house, which many believe symbolizes turmoil, fallout, or internal battles, depending on interpretation. Fans have been breaking down the imagery nonstop, though no official explanation has surfaced. Still, one thing is clear. This family's creative wave has stormed the hip-hop conversation in a major way. Reports also mention past moments resurfacing, including old news footage that King later reposted, adding fuel to the ongoing exchange. Some observers believe the Miss Jackson angle could be a subtle callback to history, considering how Ja Rule once penned a public letter to 50 Cent's mother during their infamous feud, a move that became a huge talking point at the time. As for Rick Ross, fans say he's likely been watching quietly for years given his long-running friction with 50 Cent. Once the latest diss started trending, blogs wasted no time highlighting his reactions, with screenshots of his comments spreading fast. According to posts shared by media pages, Ross commented under King's photo featuring the t-shirt design, writing, "Hey, say I need that tee," in a 3,000 little bro, instantly igniting more chatter. He also reportedly dropped a comment under Dominique's post saying, "Hey, let it burn," which many took as subtle encouragement to keep the lyrical back and forth alive. Not long after, Rick Ross returned again and reportedly added, "Miss Jackson noticed it's hot," layering even more intrigue onto an already heated situation. That brief comment wasted no time making its rounds online, amplifying the buzz even further. A lot of fans say they almost expect Rick Ross to chime in anytime 50 Cent is part of the headline, especially considering their well-documented history of public back and forth. He had previously shown visible support for T.I.'s single too, urging followers to stream it and calling it fire, a cosign that blogs quickly labeled as strategic. Now, with King and Dominique stepping into the exchange, Ross appears to be spreading that same energy across multiple posts, and that has only intensified the online conversation. Observers are already calling this one of the strangest rap rivalries in recent memory. 3 diss tracks from members of the same family, a father and his sons, all landing within a tight window, is something hip-hop culture rarely witnesses. Supporters frame it as a unified creative stance, with each artist standing 10 toes behind their message. As for 50 Cent, many commentators believe he's studying the situation carefully, while some online voices argue he might be losing momentum. In this particular round, others remind everyone that he's built a reputation on strategy and surprise. Even if it looks like he drops a round, few believe he would ever walk away from the bigger chess match. The dominant perception online is that he prefers the long game, applying pressure over time rather than reacting off impulse. Fans often describe his approach as deliberate and relentless, noting that once he locks into a public dispute, he rarely disengages. Observers also point out that he doesn't seem eager to jump back in with another rap track. Instead, many believe he leans towards social media commentary, humor, and subtle jabs to make his impact. Supporters argue that this tactic helps him steer the narrative without entering a traditional lyrical exchange. At the same time, analysts highlight that both 50 Cent and T.I. are seasoned figures with extensive careers, and neither appears driven by financial desperation. The real play, some suggest, could be audience engagement holding attention, sparking debate, and keeping fans glued to every development. The question circulating across platforms is simple. What does each side bring next to sustain the momentum? For years, 50 Cent has cultivated an unfiltered online persona, blending sarcasm, memes, and sharp commentary to dominate digital conversations. That presence has become central to his brand. But this scenario feels different. Instead of trading shots with one opponent, he's now facing coordinated responses from multiple members of the same household. First the father, then one son, followed by another son, widely praised by fans for his lyrical sharpness. Many hip-hop followers admit they've rarely seen a rollout quite like this, and that alone has people watching closely to see what happens next. Online voices continue to speculate that 50 Cent may simply be waiting for the right moment before making his next move, with some suggesting he values precision timing over emotional reactions. Others argued that during this particular week, the opposing side seemed to gain more traction in public opinion. Still, supporters quickly pointed out that he has already responded through multiple direct social media posts, making it clear he's fully aware of the conversation and actively engaging with it rather than ignoring the noise. Commentators largely agree that this exchange is unlikely to affect 50 Cent's broader business ventures or overall success. He remains a seasoned entrepreneur and entertainer with major projects beyond music, and from a financial and career standpoint, analysts say he continues operating at a high level. That said, many fans believe he cares just as much about winning the digital narrative as any chart position. Social media has long been one of his strongest arenas, where humor, sarcasm, and calculated posts consistently keep him trending. Some feel this entire back and forth is playing out in a space where he's most comfortable and most strategic. At the same time, the discussion has expanded into questions about boundaries and rap rivalries. While some artists are known for pushing limits in lyrical warfare, others prefer to steer clear of deeply personal references. Critics and supporters have revisited past disputes, including his long-standing tension with Irv Gotti, as examples of how intense these exchanges can become. Ultimately, much of the debate comes down to personal perspectives on what's acceptable in competitive hip-hop culture. Fans have also resurfaced past moments involving 50 Cent and other public figures, including commentary he made following the passing of Michael K. Williams. At the time, media outlets referenced prior industry tensions, which added context to the situation. Critics argue that certain remarks crossed sensitive lines, while supporters maintain that history and rivalry often shape how artists respond publicly. Those past incidents are now being re-examined as audiences analyze his current approach, with some observers saying they reinforce the perception that he's willing to address highly sensitive topics during disputes. Others counter that every rivalry carries its own dynamics, and public reactions often reflect individual values within hip-hop culture. Another flashpoint that gained serious traction online was the t-shirt design featuring a family member's image, which spread rapidly across blogs and social platforms. The image triggered strong reactions on both sides, with some calling it bold and unapologetic, while others labeled it unnecessary escalation. Screenshots are still circulating, adding fuel to an already intense conversation. At this stage, much of the dialogue has shifted toward public perception. Supporters and critics alike are now debating where they stand on T.I. and his role in this unfolding exchange, and whether this united front changes the rules of engagement moving forward. All of it proves once again just how divided and how passionate hip-hop audiences can be. Public opinion around 50 Cent stays split right down the middle. Supporters and critics continue to debate whether his approach is calculated brilliance, unnecessary provocation, or simply consistent branding. Once disagreements spill onto social media, observers say the real battle shifts to perception. Who controls the storyline? Who lands the sharpest punchline? And most importantly, who sparks the loudest reaction online? In today's digital era, moments are measured by engagement. Comment sections flood instantly, with reactions like, "Did he really just say that?" or "Nobody saw that coming." Analysts suggest these viral exchanges aren't just about lyrical competition. Anymore, they're about commanding attention in real time. The artist who generates the biggest laugh, shock factor, or surprise often appears to gain the upper hand in the court of public opinion. Rick Ross seems to understand that formula well. Commentators note that whenever tensions with 50 Cent resurface, Ross responds in visible, calculated ways, fully aware that blogs and entertainment outlets will amplify every move. By doing that, he taps into the same digital playbook that has kept these rivalries alive for years. Observers say Ross knows how to flip tension into visibility. He often balances his responses by spotlighting his own ventures, events, business moves, brand plays while still addressing rivals directly. At the same time, he publicly backs artists he aligns with, mentioning their names, reposting tracks, or leaving comments like, "Hey, give me that in 3x." King, or let it burn, let it burn. Once blogs grabbed those quotes, they spread fast. Fans describe the situation as intense, pointing out how quickly online exchanges can escalate from subtle jabs to full-blown trending topics. What started as a current rivalry has now reopened. Conversations about several of 50 Cent's past rap disputes. Social media users have been revisiting older chapters in hip-hop history, including his lyrical clashes with Beanie Sigel and Jay Dukas, along with previous exchanges involving Styles P. Analysts point out that in hip-hop culture, history rarely stays buried. When a new dispute trends, audiences instinctively re-examine earlier battles to compare tactics, outcomes, and who really won in the public eye.
Some fans have even connected the dots between those past lyrical wars and the recent Miss Jackson references, suggesting earlier rivalries may have influenced the tone or creative direction behind the current records. Whether that's coincidence or strategy, it has added another layer to the conversation. Commentators emphasize that competitive exchanges have always been woven into hip-hop's DNA. Once artists step into that arena, public scrutiny and sharp responses are part of the territory. Observers say 50 Cent has long embraced a formula built on bold online commentary and humor, often deployed right in the middle of tense moments. Over the years, he's accumulated a long list of high-profile disputes, and fans continue to catalog, compare, and debate each one whenever a new chapter unfolds. Some voices online argue that, at least for this particular week, 50 Cent may have run into coordinated pressure from multiple angles. Others believe he's simply pacing himself, waiting for the right opening before making a decisive move. At the same time, supporters insist King and the others involved are just as ready to remain engaged if things continue. As always in hip-hop, timing and audience reaction will likely determine the next chapter. Certain supporters argue the focus shouldn't be on whether King looks tough or how critics try to label him. Instead, they say the real issue revolves around personal boundaries and how someone reacts when they feel their family has been mentioned publicly. According to online commentary, King has made it clear that references to his mother aren't taken lightly, and he's willing to respond through music or public statements if he feels it's necessary. Observers say that stance alone keeps the tension alive and prevents the situation from fading. As the discussion stretches on, audiences are watching closely to see what happens next. Fans are flooding platforms with opinions, debating whether the rivalry will escalate further or gradually cool off. Entertainment blogs have hinted that more developments involving the family's patriarch could surface soon, heightening anticipation. Meanwhile, Aisha Diaz has entered the conversation as well, after comments circulated online referencing a reported $50,000 per month figure. Social media reactions have been split, with some questioning the claim and others defending her position. The debate continues to expand, adding yet another layer to an already complicated public exchange. As the online discourse intensified, older interview clips began resurfacing across blogs and fan pages. In those past conversations, both sides had addressed competition in hip-hop, framing lyrical conflict as part of the culture rather than something purely personal. Viewers revisiting those interviews pointed out how confident and direct each artist sounded when discussing rivals and strategy. Commentators highlighted how 50 Cent has repeatedly described himself as someone who studies opponents carefully before making a move. That reputation for patience is now being revisited, with many suggesting he may be analyzing reactions before deciding his next step. Supporters argue he rarely jumps into responses without first calculating the long-term impact. At the same time, T.I. has previously spoken about legacy and respect, often emphasizing how seriously he protects his name and family image. Fans are now reinterpreting those remarks in light of the coordinated diss tracks, seeing them as potential groundwork for this unified response. The resurfaced footage has only fueled speculation about how intentional and organized this lyrical rollout may have been. Online forums have also turned their focus to strategy. Some users believe the tightly timed release of multiple diss tracks was designed to dominate the conversation cycle. Dropping several records in quick succession created a surge of content that flooded timelines and forced media outlets to react. Analysts say that kind of rollout reflects a clear understanding of modern attention spans: fast, aggressive, and impossible to overlook. Others argue that 50 Cent's response follows a familiar blueprint. Rather than releasing a track, he appears to rely on commentary, humor, and carefully timed posts that keep him trending without entering a traditional studio battle. Supporters describe that approach as controlling the narrative without stepping into the booth. Meanwhile, Rick Ross continues to interact publicly, liking posts, leaving comments, and subtly amplifying certain messages. Each digital move is quickly screenshotted and reposted by blogs, extending the lifespan of every statement. In today's rap climate, even a short comment can generate headlines and spark thousands of reactions within minutes. Another developing layer is how fans are splitting into clear camps, with some arguing the family's unified front sends a powerful message, while others question how sustainable that strategy will be if the rivalry intensifies. The situation has become a vivid message about loyalty and solidarity. Seeing multiple family members step into the booth is rare and bold within mainstream rap, and that coordinated presence alone has become part of the story. On the other hand, longtime followers of 50 Cent argue that he thrives in moments like this. They point to his history of transforming controversy into visibility, often emerging with higher engagement numbers than before. From that perspective, every post, meme, or reaction only strengthens his digital dominance. At this point, the rivalry has grown far beyond music. It's now about image, timing, strategy, and who can command the culture's attention. The family's united front has certainly shaken things up, but 50 Cent's track record proves he rarely stays silent for long. The question now is simple. Does he respond in a big, undeniable way, or continue playing the long game through digital strategy? So what do you think? Is this round going to the family, or is 50 Cent quietly setting up a comeback nobody sees coming? The floor is yours. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This saga is far from over, and if you want to stay ahead of every twist and turn, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay locked in for the next update. The story isn't slowing down anytime soon.